Hello there guys, welcome to one of my live videos, and on this video I am going to be giving you a match reaction for the Leicester-Manchester City game that ended Leicester City 0, Manchester City 1 yesterday at the King Power Stadium. Gabriel Jesus come off the bench, to get the winner for Manchester City, and Raheem Mahrez, of course, had got the assist. So reflecting on the win for Manchester City, it puts them 7 points clear of Leicester. So it has basically, secured Manchester City second place, and they do go 19 points behind Liverpool and that. To be fair, I thought, it was a game of both halves. I thought in the first half, Leicester really dominated in the first half. I thought Leicester's best chance, was from Jamie Vardy when he hit the post. I thought Jamie Vardy had a really, really good game for Leicester. I also thought Youri Tielemans had a good game alongside James Maddison in their midfield. I thought Ricardo Pereira, made quite a few vital tackles. He played really, really well. But I thought in the second half, City started to come into the game and, they did take control. But overall, I thought it was an exhilarating game. There was also quite a few dubious decisions. From a Leicester perspective, they'll feel as though, they should have had 2 penalties in the game. There was an incident in the first half with Edison and Iheanacho. Edison and Richie went into Iheanacho, so that could have been a penalty for Leicester. And also to one of the free kicks from Leicester, from James Maddison, had hit Kevin De Bruyne's hand, so that was very controversial as well. So that also could have been another penalty for Leicester. In total in the game, I think Leicester had around 10 shots, Manchester City had around 18, and I think Leicester created around, 6 chances, and City created around 15 chances. Also too, Manchester City had missed a penalty in the game. Obviously, the penalty came from a handball from Dennis Pryor from Ilkay Gundogan's shot. But to be fair, it was a really, really good save. I actually, thought it was going to end a 0-0 draw the way it was going, definitely in that. But, City have done the double now over Leicester this season. I still feel as though, Leicester are, going to definitely, finish, in the top 3 this season. I think they're going to finish third now, Leicester, to be quite honest. But overall, analysing it, Leicester, have had a really, really good season. Brendan Rodgers is only in his, I think he's been at Leicester now, is it just over a year? And he's done really, really well. So you've got to admire, what Brendan Rodgers has done at Leicester. I also thought Brendan Rodgers was really, really good, when he was at Celtic. He enjoyed 3 good years with Celtic. He also did really, really well when he was at Liverpool. He did well when he was at Swansea. So overall, Brendan Rodgers is a really, really good manager. I think he'll see out his contract at Leicester. He has got a contract with them until 2025. He extended his contracts, don't forget, earlier on in the season. And he did recruit some good players in last summer for Leicester. They got that Dennis Pryor, who's done really, really well. Youri Tielemans, he's really, really good. I think he's one of Leicester's most expensive signings. They got James Justin. I think they get that Ndidi. That Ndidi is currently out with injury at the moment, so he wasn't playing yesterday. They got Perez from Newcastle for around £30 million. So they did get, quite a few good players in, did Leicester. They've also got Amati out injured. Mendy's still injured. Chaudhary wasn't involved yesterday because he was suspended. But taking into account Leicester have done really, really well. Obviously they won the league back in 2016 under Claudio Ranieri's guidance, and I think they actually, made a mistake by getting rid of Claudio Ranieri. But taking into account, Leicester have lost quite a few of their key players, in recent years. They lost Raheem Mahrez to Manchester City. They lost Harry Maguire to us last summer. Leicester would have looked at that from a financial point of view and said, look, we've generated a substantial amount for his departure, because they did get around £80 million from Maguire. They lost N'Golo Kante. They lost, obviously, Danny Drinkwater. So Leicester have lost quite a few of their imperative players in recent years. So you've got to credit them for what they've done. And, it's going to be interesting to see how Brendan Rodgers approaches this summer, because I do believe Leicester, will try to make more signings, definitely. But I think definitely, they will be in the Champions League, for next season, because they'll get that Champions League qualification and that. From a Manchester City perspective, though, they'll be delighted with the result and that. They'll be delighted with the result. Will Manchester City, obviously, they know they're not going to win the league this season. Obviously, they just want to finish second. Now it's looking realistically that they're going to finish second. I thought Aguero had a pretty decent game for Manchester City yesterday. He had a couple of chances in the game. Also, he did get a goal disallowed, did Sergio Aguero, but it was way offside. Rodri, I don't think was too bad for Manchester City yesterday. I don't think Kevin De Bruyne was too good. He did, lose the possession quite a lot, did Kevin De Bruyne. Obviously, Manchester City themselves have had injuries, don't forget. Obviously, Leroy Sané has been out for a long time. Obviously, they've still got Raheem Sterling out. He came off injured in Manchester City's 2-0 defeat to Tottenham, did Raheem Sterling. And, but the good news is, on the positive for City, is that, Laporte's just come back, who was a very, very good centre-half, and so too has Benjamin Mendy and that. But like I mentioned, it was a game of both halves. City actually, did dominate the possession, but Leicester looked very, very good on the counter-attack, definitely in that. But, City did win the game by 1-0. Now, I think, didn't City, rest a couple of key players because, they've got Real Madrid on the horizon. I think that's coming up on Wednesday. And that's a very, very big game for Manchester City against Real Madrid. Because obviously, the Champions League is a priority for Manchester City because that's the only thing, they haven't won in their history is the Champions League, but they have won everything else. And City's record against Madrid in the Champions League is very, very poor. They have versed Real Madrid 4 times so far in the Champions League and haven't beaten them once. They've drawn twice at the Etihad and lost twice at the Santiago Bernabeu. So it's going to be a very, very tough game for Manchester City. Of course, as you all know, City are banned from the Champions League for the next 2 seasons. Obviously, they've appealed against the decision. They've put a lot of money in for the appeal. The appeal could take a while, though. It could take a while to process, so it could take months. We may not know until the summer, what's happening in that. But I don't see Manchester City, winning the appeal. Of course, there's been rumours saying that City could get points deducted from them in the Premier League. They could even get a title taken off them, and stuff like that. But I think Guardiola now is actually he recently said, if I'm right, he's now staying at Manchester City, whether this ban gets overturned or not, because, City can still win this season's Champions League, believe it or not. They haven't got a good pedigree in the Champions League. I think the closest they've come to winning it, was progressing to the semi-final. That's the closest they've come to, winning, the Champions League of Man City and that. I still think City are going to get some silverware on the board this season. I think, obviously they're going to win the Carabao Cup against Aston Villa. That'll be their 3rd Carabao Cup on the trot. And, there's a possible chance Manchester City, can win the FA Cup. But, in the league this season, they haven't been nowhere near as good as, they were in the last 2 previous seasons. Nowhere near as good because this season they've lost more games in the Premier League than they have done in the last 2 seasons combined of Manchester City. So take that into account. They were very, very good last season despite only winning the league by a point. Also they won the domestic treble last season. Take that into account. Obviously, the season before, they won the league and they was hoping this season that they were going to win their 3rd title on the trot. So obviously, they could replicate what we did back in 2007, 2008 and 2009 because we won 3 back-to-back titles. But obviously, they replicated our, one of my club's greatest achievements from 1999, of course, when we won the treble because City, won the treble last season and that. But yeah, I think, City are going to finish second this season, definitely in that. But like I've said to the main explanation why Manchester City have been so good in the last 4 or 5 years is because, it's not because they've built a great club. I think they've got a small club mentality. I think it's just because they've built a great squad. Pep Guardiola's invested a lot of money into that Manchester City team. I think Guardiola has spent like over £1 billion in his managerial career, hasn't he? Something like that. But more than half of that has been spent at Manchester City. So take that into account. But Guardiola is still regarded as one of the best managers in the world. The main explanation why he's so good is because of Marcelo Bielsa, because, he worked with Bielsa, when he was younger, did Guardiola, and like Guardiola's following his philosophy. And yeah, so this is why, he's really, really good. But Guardiola now is into his 4th season at Manchester City. he's won 7 major honours with Man City, like I mentioned. He's won over 100 odd games in the Premier League and that. And when he does eventually, leave Manchester City, because obviously he's gonna, I think he'll, either make a return to Barcelona or Bayern Munich with Pep Guardiola. Because, City will find it hard to get someone on, Guardiola's level, if he was, to leave in the summer and that. But, maybe he won't, even though he was coming out before saying if, he says if Man City, don't beat Real Madrid, and obviously that means they get knocked out of the Champions League. He did say he could walk out of the Manchester City job. Probably City will want to make more investment this summer and that. I don't think they signed anyone in January as far as I know. Didn't they sign Joe Cancelo last summer? Or was it in January they signed Joe Cancelo? I can't remember and that. But, there was a few talking points in that game yesterday against Leicester. And if it had gone Leicester's way, then, I presume Leicester, should have won the game. I think, they were the better team in the first half and, they should have taken their chances, It was a good ball to find Jamie Vardy. I can't remember what player put him through now, but it was a very, very, good chance. And he should have scored it, definitely. I like that Ben Chilwell as well. He's a very, very good fullback for Leicester. You've got Johnny Evans, who's now there. He's a former Man United player. That Fuchs has done well for them. I think, Leicester can be future title contenders. If they can get a few more signings in. I honestly, believe that they can be. But I think they need around 2 or 3 signings, do Leicester definitely in that. And I like Jamie Vardy a lot, It's amazing how he's got to this level now, because obviously he came from non-league football, did Jamie Vardy. I think he came from Fleetwood Town and, he's just done so well with Leicester as Jamie Vardy, so, good goalkeeping, Kasper Schmeichel as well, very, very good goalkeeper in that. But yeah, City, of course, win the game by 1-0. So that's your match reaction on that. And of course, Manchester United against Watford is coming up today, as you all know. That is a 2 o'clock kickoff, is Manchester United and Watford. You've already seen my preview for that game, Man United and Watford. And it's going to be a very, very difficult game for Man United, to be quite honest with you. Like I mentioned, Watford have slightly improved under Nigel Pearson's guidance. They haven't improved that much because, they have, only won one of their last 5 Premier League games of Watford. But, they do look slightly better under Nigel Pearson, but our record against Watford at Old Trafford, is really, really good, definitely. But they are facing a relegation battle, our Watford, because they are sitting 19th in the Premier League. But it is a must-win game for Man United, to obviously, keep our top 4 ambitions alive. We are now 6 points behind top 4 because, Chelsea did beat Tottenham by 2-1. Chelsea, beat Tottenham by 2-1 yesterday at Stamford Bridge. Of course, you did see my match reaction for that game. Lampard has embarrassed Mourinho yet again. He's, done the double over him this season, and Chelsea have taken 6 points from Tottenham, surprisingly. So we need to win this game today. If we win this game today, we'll be back to 3 points, and we are looking for back-to-back Premier League wins because we won our last league game against Chelsea 2-0. And that was our first win at Stamford Bridge in the Premier League since 2012. So it is a must-win game for Manchester United. We lost a fixture early on in the season, 2-0 to Watford, by the way. Be interested to see how Solskjaer approaches the game and that, he will make quite a lot of changes from the 1-1 draw against Club Brugge. I do expect Igalo to start, Fernandes to start. I expect Fred to start. I expect Wan-Bissaka to be back in the team because he didn't play any part against Brugge. Daniel James didn't play any part against Brugge and that. Will Solskjaer stick with the 3-5-2 formation or, will he revert back to the 4-2-3-1 formation like he has been going with on a regular basis this season? But but it is a must-win game for Manchester United. Definitely, there's quite a lot of teams now in that top 4 race. Obviously 5th place is a Champions League spot, obviously, reflect on City's ban, but it'd be still good to get that top 4. It's amazing, this is the worst we've ever been in the Premier League era, and we still can finish in the top 4, and that just indicates how bad, a lot of teams have been in the Premier League this season. Chelsea haven't been so good, Arsenal haven't been so good, Tottenham haven't been so good and that, and this is one of the main explanations as well why Liverpool have blitzed the league, is because, no one is on their level, because a lot of teams have been poor this season, except Liverpool. I know City is still second, and that's good, but, they're nowhere near as good as Liverpool at the moment, Manchester City and that. I've obviously already given you some team news building up to the game against Watford and that. we've had a lot of positivity coming out regarding Scott McTominay. You know, he's been out injured since Boxing Day with a knee injury, McTominay. He's been out for a couple of months. He has been back in training as McTominay, and Solskjaer said it's likely, he will be, in the squad for the game against Watford today. So I want to see, him involved, McTominay, because he is a very imperative player for Manchester United, Scott McTominay, and that. Because before he got injured, like I mentioned, did really, really well. Obviously, we know there's going to be no Rashford playing. He could be out for the rest of the season. Could Marcus Rashford? Solskjaer did say he's touch and go to play again before the end of the season, but could be out for the rest of the season, minimum out for a couple of months, and could even miss the European Championships this year, could Rashford. But, Rashford is a big miss because Rashford has been one of our best players this season. Igalo's a good cover-up for him. He should be making his full debut today, and he will be reuniting against Watford. Chon and Gomez, we're uncertain about their futures. I think they could leave Man United this summer because their appearances are limited. They're not getting enough chances. There was recently playing for the Belgium under-19, where I think Tuanzebe has been back in training, but I think this game's come too soon for him. I think, Fosu Mensah's still out. Diego Dalot's just come back from injury. Of course, we know that Paul Pogba's not going to play any part in this game. The earliest we are looking at Paul Pogba being back is for the Manchester derby on the 8th of March. I know Solskjaer recently revealed that Paul Pogba may never ever play for Manchester United again. And he did say, he's not even close to returning from injury. Pogba's only played 8 games this season due to his injuries. Hasn't started a game since September and hasn't played since Boxing Day as Pogba. But I still believe he's on his way out of the football club in the summer. Well, on the other hand, I was reading reports yesterday. It did say Paul Pogba could decide to stay at the football club and extend his contract if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is to be sacked by Manchester United and that. So that was an interesting narrative, that was coming out in a couple of interesting narratives because it was coming out in a few of the media outlets saying that he could stay if Solskjaer is to be sacked by Manchester United. We don't obviously what his agent Mini Raiola come out and said regarding the player. Obviously, he's been coming out saying that Paul Pogba is likely to leave in the summer. He also come out and said, and that's if we fail to qualify for the Champions League. He also come out and said, that he's obviously already held negotiations with Juventus. He was saying Paul Pogba is not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's property. And, we don't like some of the stuff, his agent Mini Raiola come out and said. We're infuriated about it. And, Gary Neville's been critical of him. Solskjaer himself has been critical of him and that. So, yeah, I still think Pogba's going in the summer because he's already told our teammates that he's leaving in the summer. But I'm pretty confident, that he will play for Manchester United again before he does leave in the summer, definitely in that. Pogba now is heading into the final year of his contract. Man United do have an option to extend it by a further year, don't forget. But I think we can afford to let him go. If we can get Grealish and Maddison in the summer, or even just Grealish, we can afford to let Paul Pogba go, because we'll generate a substantial amount for his departure, and plus it'll free up our wage bill a little bit because Pogba is one of the highest paid players at the club. But, we've got players on big contracts in Man United. You've got Pogba on 290 grand a week, Rashford on 300 grand a week with bonuses included, Martial on 200 odd grand a week, De Gea on 375 grand a week. He's the highest paid goalkeeper in the world, is David De Gea, and the highest paid at the club. You've got Maguire on 200 odd grand a week, Lingard on like 100 odd grand a week and that. So we've got players on big contracts at Manchester United, definitely. And yeah, so it'll free up our wage bill a little bit, like I mentioned. Obviously, you got Real Madrid coming out saying that they only value Paul Pogba at 50 million. This is a bit daft, isn't it? Valuing him at 50 million pounds. Pogba, he's worth a lot more than 50 million pounds. So basically, Real Madrid want him for 3 times less than what we're demanding, because we said we wanted 150 million, and 50 million is 39 million pound less than what we paid for him, because we paid 89 million pounds for him in 2016, of course. But analysing the vast majority of Paul Pogba's performances at Man United have been totally comparison to his ones when he was in Turin. I think Paul Pogba will go to Juventus in the summer. I think he'll make a return there, definitely. There's been rumours saying that, Ramsey could also be part of the deal. But, I do think, we need to get rid of him. But I think there's going to be around 4 or 5 players anywhere that are going to leave Manchester United this summer. So we'll generate some funds for some of their departures. Obviously, a lot of players have left anyway since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. So, we have generated some money, from some of their departures. We got 70 odd million for Lukaku. So basically, more or less, we recoup what we paid for him from Everton. I think we made a mistake getting rid of Lukaku. Obviously, we cashed in for Ashley Young. Quite a few of our players, went out on loan and that. Man United, of course, are going to spend a substantial amount this summer on recruiting more players in. I heard that Solskjaer's going to get around £274 million to spend. He's already spent around 220 million since he's come into the football club. He recommended 5 new additions into the squad. Yes, spent 220 million on them, but there's still deficiencies in the squad that do need to be addressed in the summer. And I think Manchester United need Champions League football to attract players to the elite level. Well, we've got more chance of attracting players to the elite level if, we do get European football. Maybe even if we don't, we could still do that according to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But there's a lot of players on our agenda in that, and Solskjaer still wants to continue the policy of recruiting young players in. But I don't think Solskjaer will be here anyway in the summer transfer window. Like I mentioned, I think he will be gone at the end of the season, and will either bring Massimiliano Allegri or Pochettino in to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United and that. Obviously, the club have already sacked 3 managers since the Alex Ferguson era. Obviously, we sacked David Moyes after he endured, around 8 or 9 months with the club. He's enjoyed the shortest tenure with the club. Ferguson was at fault for ever recommending him in. Then Louis van Gaal, we got rid of him after like a year or so, despite the fact we won the FA Cup under, Louis van Gaal. And of course, we got rid of Jose Mourinho after he enjoyed a 2.5-year tenure at the club, won the Europa League and the League Cup in his first season. Obviously, got second as well in his first season, but obviously, his tenure didn't work out at Manchester United and that. And, look at the amount of money that's been invested into the club, since Fergie left in the managerial eras. 67 million spent under Moyes, 200 odd million spent under Van Gaal, 400 million spent under Mourinho. The vast majority of these players are Jose Mourinho's. And, 220 under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So we spent like nearly £1 billion on recruiting new players in the last 6 or 7 years. I think it's £1 billion including the wage bill, definitely in that. So Manchester United have spent big, and we're also known for overpaying for players in recent years. But I think the only chance of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer being given another season at Manchester United is if, we do finish within the top 6 this season and we do qualify for Europe. I think, prior to that, he will be gone at the end of the season. Maybe even still some people believe even if we were to get Champions League football secured for next season, Solskjaer will still be gone at the end of the season. I think a lot of fans believe he's on his way out. A lot of journalists, people within the club, like I mentioned the other day, believe he's on his way out of Manchester United and that, because he isn't good enough. He's been here 14 months now. Yeah, he's been here over the year and he knows he's got many expectations to exceed. We know that it is a transition period, but Solskjaer believes if he's given enough time, he can emulate maybe into the next Jurgen Klopp, because it took Jurgen Klopp, time to get him to level as he's at, but he's never going to emulate into the next Jurgen Klopp. He's never ever going to do this. And the main explanations why I don't think Solskjaer's the right man is because he's too tactically naive. He doesn't have a plan A, doesn't have a plan B. Too inexperienced as a manager. Got the same perception as well on Carrick and Kieran McKenna. they're both inexperienced as well. Some people believe Solskjaer would be better as a coaching assistant or maybe a director, rather than, being a manager in that. But he just isn't the right manager for Manchester United in that. He's not the right manager. We've made a lot of mistakes. This is one of the main explanations why we've been so inconsistent for so long. We shouldn't have given Solskjaer the job on a permanent basis. We shouldn't have given him the job on a permanent basis. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was daft to give him the job on a permanent basis. But reflecting on what he did when he was the interim manager in that 3-month period, he did really, really well. So this is the main explanation why we're giving him the job on a permanent basis and that. But he's still got around 2.5 years left on his current deal at the football club as Solskjaer and that. I think, Manchester United are around... Well, let's think. I think we're around 3 or 4 signings off from becoming competitive and being title contenders. I think we're around 3 or 4 signings off, definitely. Maybe even more than that. But, we've got to get the right calibre players in the summer. That is very, very essential. But I think analysing our squad, it's definitely, good enough for the top 4 finish. Obviously isn't good enough yet, to win the league. So I expect Man United maybe to be challenging for the league next season or maybe the season after. Obviously at the moment City strides ahead of us and Liverpool are strides ahead of us in that. But yeah, so I think Manchester United need to see a variety of changes. We need a change of management. We need a change of board. We need a change of chairman. We need a change of ownership, because a lot of United fans have got doubts about the ownership and the chairman Ed Woodward, because the Glazers have been generating money out of this club for several years. And, there's still more players that need to leave Manchester United, so we need to see a variety of changes at the football club. We should have also got a director of football. And I haven't been reading up about the news regarding the director of football. We need someone to come in to oversee our transfer business and someone who would be reliable to oversee our transfer business and that. But I think revert back to what I said, it'll be either Pochettino or Allegri that replaces Solskjaer at the end of the season. Guardiola, I think, now staying at City, so Pochettino now, could be coming to Man United. But I think Pochettino or Allegri, either of them, would be better than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Let's just put that into the equation and that, But I just don't see us getting our 21st title under Solskjaer. Man United are one of the biggest clubs in the world. We've got a fantastic fan base, fantastic history. More successful team in England, 20 Premier League titles. 20 titles, 13 Premier League, and 7 Old First Divisions. Yeah, and one of the club's greatest achievements was 1999. We haven't won the Premier League since 2013. But yeah, so we are still one of the biggest clubs in the world. Manchester United should get the win today against Watford, like I mentioned. Then it's the second leg against Club Brugge. The Europa League is a priority for us, because we haven't won it. We didn't win the first match against Club Brugge, didn't we, in the first leg? But the result was very, very good because, we did get the away goal through Anthony Martial, so now we can take that into the second leg. I think we emerged as one of the favourites to win the Europa League. Won it back in 2017 under Jose Mourinho. We beat Ajax in the final by 2-0. But we are emerged as one of the favourites, But the Europa League's a priority for us. It's a chance of getting silverware on the board. Plus, it's another route to Champions League football. I think the second leg, Solskjaer won't take any risks. He'll play the likes of Fernandes, Ighalo, Fred, Wan-Bissaka and that. Because he made a lot of mistakes in the first match against Club Brugge at the Jan Bredel Stadium. He was, tactically naive, so we need to see a tactical change. Playing players out of position, that's an element of concern. In the last 2 games, he's played Luke Shaw at centre-half. When Luke Shaw's not predominantly a centre-half, he's predominantly a left-back. Also, he's been putting Martial in that number 9 role. Fair play to Martial, he's scored twice in his last 2 games, but, like I said, he's predominantly a left winger. It's only been this season Martial's been playing in that number 9, so we need to put Ighalo in the number 9 and revert Martial back to the left. Lingard and Pereira also played against Club Brugge, and, they shouldn't have ever played. But I think in the second leg, Manchester United, will win and we will progress into the last 16 of the competition. Also, the FA Cup is a priority for us, because we can still win that. We are in the 5th round of that competition as well, so take that into account. Yes, we are. So anyway, guys, that's everything to update you with today. Drop your comments, likes, below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon.